Hey guys, welcome back to Noteworks. So in this video, we're gonna study about chapter 5, which is dictionaries. So let's look at the topic overviews of what all are there in dictionaries. We have dictionary, what is dictionary data type? Then we have pretty printing dictionaries. So these are the headings basically of what we're gonna. Then we are gonna look at a tic-tac-toe example. Then we'll be looking about what is nested dictionaries and lists. Then there's not much after seeing the list video. This will be almost similar and might look a little more complicated, but is similar to lists. And it has okay. Then we're gonna look at few practical practice questions and some practice projects to wrap it up. So these are the topics in dictionaries. So let's get started. So the first topic is what is dictionary data type? So let's understand what is a dictionary data type. So so what is the overview? First, what is the overview? So a dictionary in Python, a dictionary in Python stores data as key value key value pairs. So there's something called as key value pairs. So what this is, keys act like indexes. They act like indexes, but they can be of they can be of different immutable data type. So they can be of different immutable data types, such as immutable data types such as string, number, tuple, etc. So they can be different immutable data types. So then this is keys. Then what do values have? So values can be any data type you wish. They can be any data type you want. So if you look at the syntax, if you look at the syntax, there'll be key 1 with a colon and you'll have value 1, comma, you'll have key 2 and you'll have value 2, so on. So this is how the syntax is. Let's look at an example. For example, uh, let's write it up our page only since the program is on. So example, we can say my cat is a dictionary variable. So my cat, we use a curly bracket. So we use size. This is a string, and yeah, the input is also the value also is in a string format. Similarly, you can say color, and this would be gray, and here disposition. This would be loud. So this is how a dictionary is written. So this is what a dictionary data type means. So next is how do you access the values? So accessing values. So how do you access the values is you use square brackets. So you use square brackets with the key in them. So when you use square brackets with the key in them, for example, my cat with size. So when you print this, you'll get the output as fat. Since under size you have fat as the value. Similarly, if you print something like this is a string. So cat has my cat has this is the variable my cat, and you say color. So this is the key is the color fur. So under color, what was the value present? It was gray. So the output would be for this particular line, it would be my cat has gray fur. So it'll be my cat has gray fur. So you use a square bracket. So integer keys are allowed. So integer keys are allowed, but not restricted to a sequence. It's not like first it should be in order itself, meaning it starts with 0 and goes in the order. It's not like that. It's not restricted to sequence order. So it's not restricted to sequence order. What this means is when you say spam is equal to, you can write it as 1 2 3 4 5 as the key one, and this contains luggage combination. This contains luggage combination. And the second you can say 42. So it doesn't need to be 1 2 3 4 6 the next value. It doesn't need to be in a sequence. It can be anything in any order. This is what not needing a sequence means. So this is accessing values. So next is dictionaries versus lists. What is the both look very similar. So what is the main difference? Dictionaries versus lists. So dictionaries are dictionaries are unordered unordered. So dictionaries are unordered. There is no concept of first element. So in list there's indexing from starting from zero. Similar in that sense, this doesn't have something called as a first element. So there's unordered. So order doesn't it doesn't affect equality. It doesn't affect equality. So for example, you can say something like we can say cats, dogs, moose. This will not be equal to dogs. So this is a list. These are two lists. So these both lists won't be equal if the places change. So here you can see cats and dogs and moose, their places has changed. So this would return a false because it is not equal. I mean, it would return a true, but this means lists are not same. So it is a false. But in the case of dictionaries, when you say name Sophie, comma, species cat, when you say this is equal to or equivalent to when you say species cat, comma, name Sophie. So dictionary, these both will be equivalent. Then other things you need to remember is you can't use slicing in dictionaries. You can't use slicing because there's no order. So you can't say my dict from 1 to 3. You can't say this. So this is wrong. Similarly, accessing a non-existent accessing a non-existent key. You can't do this also. When you do access a non-existent key or a key which is not present in the dictionary, you will get a key error. You get something called as a key error. So this is dictionary. Next, let's look at an example. Let's look at an example. We'll name this example as birthday database. Birthday database. So let's start writing the code. We can say birthdays is equal to, we have someone named Alice. So we can write a string. Hers is April 1st. Then we have someone named Bob. His is December 12th. I can write Carol, which is March 4th. So this is the birthdays. Then next we can start a while loop. While while true, name is equal to input, enter a name. So input, enter a name. So we can say blank to quit. Similarly in list, if you see the remember the chapter, if you don't write anything and leave it blank, it will quit this while loop. So if name is equal to blank, then you break the loop. But if it's not, if name, if it's in the birthdays, the name which you have provided is there in the birthdays, then you print birthdays name plus is the birthday of is the birthday of plus name. So what we are doing is we are printing the name which you have provided, or you are printing the name, and before that whichever name you have entered, and there's a birthday in the database, it takes that, prints that. For example, you gave Alice, it says is Alice in here, so birthday of Alice is April 1st. So April 1st is the birthday of Alice is what it prints if it's there in the name. But first suppose first suppose it's not there. It's not there in the name, whichever name you have provided, it's not there. So you print I birthday info don't have birthday info for plus name. So I don't have birthday info for this. So whichever name you, for example, you gave Ram, so you don't have birthday info for Ram. So what do you say? You say you create a variable bday input. You ask them what is, if they have the knowledge, we ask them what is their birthday. So they input what is their meaning. Whoever name you asked inquired, they'll input those his birthday. Then what you do is you add to the dictionary. You say birthdays name and you add the birthday string. So by adding this, what you do is you add to the database. So you can say, you can give an ending statement saying birthday database updated. So birthday database updated. So what's happening here is, here Alice, there are three names. We have Alice, Bob, and Carol. So whichever names we input, by chance we need information about these three dates, you can immediately print it and retrieve the data, meaning date of birth. But by chance you input something like Ram, which is not there here. So what happens is it will give an error saying, or it will give error statement saying that we don't have Ram's birthday. So then we try asking for a feedback. We ask them what is their birthday. So we ask what's their birthday. For example, we say Ram's birthday is August 1st. When we say it's August 1st, what happens is in this database here, it adds, it's a comma, we say Ram, and we add August 1st. And so the dictionary increases and the database is updated. So next time you ask for Ram, you'll have and it'll say August 1st as it returns. So this is an example of a birthday database. Then so what we have seen here, we have seen about checking where keys. We have seen how to check keys. We have seen how to retrieve values and then adding new entries. Also adding new entries. This is all we have learned by writing this program. So try executing it and see what kind of output you get and try debugging it. Okay, next. Next is dictionary method. What are the dictionary methods we have? So what all do we have is we have keys, we have values, we have items. So what these do is they return dictionary views. So basically a list like objects for keys, values and key values. So if I say, let's look at an example. If I say spam is equal to color, and color has red as its value, and it has another key value age, and it has value 42. So here I say for v in spam dot values, v in spam dot values, and I print v. I print v. What I get here are I get all the values. I get all the values present in this. So what I get output as, I get red first, then I get 42 next. Similarly, if I write for k in spam dot keys and I print k and I print k, so here I get all the keys. So what are all the keys present? Colors and age. So you get color and age as your output. And similarly, next if I say for k comma v, so now we need key value base. So k comma v in spam dot items, and you say print. So k will contain the keys and v will contain the values. If I say print key k and value v, so if I print this, I will get all the key value pairs. So what I'll get is from about this thing, I'll get color red, age 42. So I'll get key is color and value is red, and the next line I'll get key is age and value is 42. So this is what I'll get for a key value pair. So this you can even try, you can convert it into string, meaning list. You can convert to list. You can convert this to list just by adding a list function. So you say list spam comma keys. So what will happen here is you'll get the output as, meaning you'll get something like color, age. You can store this in a variable, whatever you want to do, you can store it and you'll get it as color comma age. Similarly, you can even write value also, and we'll get red comma 42. So this is how you use the functions, keys, values, and items, not functions, methods. Then next comes checking keys or values. So we need to check whether the keys or values are there in the dictionary or not. For that we use something like in and not in operators. These can check for presence of keys or values. Keys or values. For example, if I say name in spam dot keys. So name in spam dot keys. So in the above spam, here spam name is not there, but in the above did we use anywhere? Yeah. Okay, just let's just write our own spam variable. So if I say spam is equal to name Zufi, then species cat, and I say color red. So this is our dictionary. So I ask name in space spam dot keys. So we should check whether the string name is there in the keys. So it is there. So this will return true. Then next, if I say Zufi in spam dot value. So spam dot values, I say check whether Zufi is there. So it'll check all the values. So it's the overall values are the Zufi, scat, and red. So Zufi is there. So that's why it'll print true again. Then next you ask color in spam. What this does is this checks keys directly. So it doesn't you don't, even if you don't put keys dot keys, it'll check keys directly. So what it'll print true since it's there. So this is how you check key values. Then next is we have something called as get method. So what is get method? So safe key access, get method, what it is, it has a safe key access with default value default value if key is absent. So if key is absent, it has a default value and it has a safe method to retrieve them. So for example, if I say picnic items is equal to, so we have apples and we have cups. So this is picnic items. Now I call the function method. I say picnic items dot get get cups 0. So if I say get cups comma 0, meaning if there is no cups, it will return answer as 0 as the default. So what will we get the output here? Since cups is there, we'll get the output as 2. But let's see if I say picnic items dot get eggs comma 0. Here eggs is not there in the variable. So what it will output give as output? The default, which is 0. So this is called no key error. I mean, not called. If we use this, there'll be no key error. Even if you search for it and you don't get an answer, you'll get an default value which is 0. But it does not stop the execution and give a key error. This is get function. Next is set default method. Set default method. So what does this set default method do is it adds a it adds a key with a default value. It adds a key with a default value only if the key doesn't exist. So if the key doesn't exist in the previous one, what we're doing is we're just inputting the executing the default. Here this sets it to a different. So the original database is changing or the dictionary is changing. For example, if I say spam is equal to name Pookie and age 5. So here I'll call the get function. So spam dot not get function, sorry, set default function. Set default, we'll calling the function color first. Now I'll check if it color is not there. If color is not there, it will add the color key value and it will add the value as black. So what this does, this adds color. Sorry, it adds color key. So what will be the spam right now after this execution? Spam will be equal to name Pookie, age 5 and color black. So this is the dictionary after this. But after executing this, this became our dictionary. But now again, if I say spam dot set default color white, if I do this, this doesn't overwrite. This means if the key is already present, it does not overwrite what is already present. It's only when there's nothing present, it'll add and give a value also. So this is how set default method works. So these are dictionaries basics. Let's look at a example to know how we implement this. So let's write a program, character count program. Character count program. So let's start writing here. Let's give a message variable. The message is it was a bright cold day in April and the clocks were striking striking 13. So this is a message. What we should do is we should count the number of characters here. So for counting, we use a dictionary and we'll say count. Sorry. Count is empty dictionary for now. And we start a for loop. For character in message, for character in message, count dot set default character comma 0. So count dot set default character comma 0. So we're setting default for each character as 0. So we're taking each key and setting it as 0. So then, so it will start with I and set it as 0, T and set it as 0, and so on. So next what we need to do is count. If that character is there, we increment it by 1. So this is an augmented assignment operator. So incremented, so for I came here, so I again comes in this place. So that time here it starts with 1 and gets converted to 2. So what the set default does, initially it stores it as 0, but if it's already present, it doesn't store it as 0. So if I again comes also, it'll be 1, and then it goes to the next line and it increments it to 2. So then we print the dictionary, we print count. So we print count. So this is how we count the characters. So even if I have to say how it works, so here let's start with only this much. Sorry. Let's start with only this much. So here what's happening is first I comes. So it stores I as one element, and then T as one element, then W as one element, then A as one element, then S as one element. So initially, actually, let's not do this. Initially, it stores it as I. Then it will check. So I came once. So it will increment by 1. Then next, T stores it as 0. But then T came once, so it will increment as 1. So was W. Similarly, it goes on, and increment how many times it appears. This is how a dictionary is formed. Then we print it to get the key, both the key values and the key and the value pair. So you might ask, what's the purpose? So this counts the occurrence of each element character in this string. So what this does is this counts occurrences of each character in a string. Each character in a string. Then next word set, what set default does. I already told this, but what set default does is it avoids key error by ensuring the key exists before increment. So before increment, it ensures the key exists or not. So this is dictionary. Next, we are going to study the next topic in dictionary. So let's look at the topic list. So we are done with dictionary as a data type. We learned all about dictionary. Next, we'll be learning about pretty printing dictionary. So the next topic was pretty printing dictionary. Pretty printing dictionaries. So this is our heading. So the first thing we'll be knowing is why do we need to use pretty printing or pretty print, or what is it, etc., etc. So let's look into it. So we know the print function. We know the print function displays dictionary on one long line. So it displays dictionary in one long line. So this makes it hard to read if there are many data, large or nested data. So it makes it hard to read. So this is where the pprint or pretty print module formats output in a formats output in a clean, readable, and sorted way. So it prints the output format for dictionaries in a clean, readable, and a sorted way. So we understood why. Now let's understood what is pprint. So pprint module functions. Let's look at the few functions in this module. Those are, first is pprint dot pprint. So this is the module and this is the function. Pprint is the module and pprint also is the function dot obj. So what this does is this prints the object. It prints the object in a multi-line, neatly indented format. So it is the prints the object in a multi-line in a neatly indented format. So it's useful when a dictionary, it has many inputs or entries. It is useful when it has many entries. And it is also useful when data contains nested lists or dictionaries. It contains nested list or dictionaries. This is helpful. So if we look at the code how to write it, we say first import pprint. Let's write this in the next line. So this is the so import pprint. Then next we have seen an example of this one. Let's take this example. Let's actually write the same thing or the same program again, but let's write the same program again. Copy, copy. Okay. Okay, let's take this first. I don't know why it's not taking, but okay. Let's copy paste it then. Okay, that also doesn't work. Okay, let's imagine this. Okay, I'll just rewrite it again for you guys. So, message, I'm not able to copy paste, I don't know why. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clock, sorry about my handwriting, were striking, it's the same sentence, striking 13. Then we have to count this. We need to count this statement. So let's copy and paste it here. One second, I'm just new to this software. So one second. So let's copy and paste it here. Yeah. But the only difference here is instead of using print, we are gonna say pprint dot pprint count. So instead of giving the same line, what this does this, the the output is given in a neat way, similar to this. So it says 13 is the blanks, number of blanks, and comma, it is 1, full stop, it is 1, then A. See, it's going in order. First, it takes a capital letter, then the small letters, that are in order A, B, C, D, etc. etc. So this is 1, and so on. It goes till Y, and this also is 1. So it prints in a neat way. So you can notice keys are sorted for easier reading. So keys are sorted in easier reading. So this is what pprint function does. Similarly, let's look at pprint dot pformat. This is another function, pformat. What this does. So this is same as pprint, or very similar to pprint, but returns the formatted string. It returns the formatted string instead of printing into the terminal. So it returns a string instead of printing directly. So it returns to a variable. If you put, it will store in the variable instead of directly printing. So what this does is this allows storing or further processing, the prettified text, or prettified text, not prettified, my bad. So prettified text. So how you can use this is, you can say pretty text as, pretty text as your variable, and you say pprint dot format count. So count is a dictionary, so it will store in this. Now you can print the formatted. This will print your. So here there's an extra step, that's just that you're storing in a variable. If you want to use it for any other functions, you can use it easily. So what is this used for? These both functions are ideal for debugging, large or nested structures, and also presenting data cleanly. So these both functions are mainly used, meaning for debugging and presenting the data cleanly. So with this we are done with we are also done with pretty printing text. Next, let's look at a tic-tac-toe example. Okay, so let's look into our next topic, using data structures to model real world things. So we'll take tic-tac-toe as our example. So before that, let's understand what do you mean by background, meaning the prerequisites. What do you understand by modeling games, with the DS data structures? Let's try understanding this. So what do you mean? So real world real world games like real world games like chess, they can be modeled using strings with notation. So they can be modeled using string with notation. But computer store and work, computers store and work with these moves better using data structures such as lists or dictionaries. So you can use DSA or data structures to make this better is what I'm trying to or help you understand. So modeling means, so what does this term modeling here mean? So modeling means, sorry, so modeling, one second. So modeling means creating a program, means creating a program representation of real world objects, of real world objects. Like, for example, we saw chessboard, I mean, we know chessboard or a tic-tac-toe board. So this is what modeling basically means. So now we are going to implement tic-tac-toe, right? So how do you represent it? Representing representing a tic-tac-toe board, tic-tac-toe board. Let's represent it with a dictionary since this chapter is dictionary. So you know the basic understanding. So it has 9 slots arranged in 3 rows and 3 columns. You know how a tic-tac-toe looks. So basically it has 9 slots with 1, 2, 3 rows and 1, 2, 3 columns. So each slot can be X, O or blank. So these are the options we have. So you to represent use a dictionary to represent the board. So how do you do that? How do you use a dictionary to represent a board is keys, which I stated above. Keys represent positions. For example, top L, mid M, or low R. So this basically means top left, mid, or low right. If I'll show this in the visual explanation how it actually looks. Then for values, as we said above, values has X, O, or blank. So these are the values. Now let's look at a visual diagram. Let's look at a visual diagram for tic-tac-toe board. So what I said, they'll have values and they'll have keys, right? So how do you draw it means? Okay, so this is your board. In this board, now we need to fill in the values. How will the values be? means. So the values will be like top, these all are top, these all are called mid, 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 this is low, this is low, low, low. So now this would be as low left, low mid. I mean, sorry, top left, top mid, and top right, and mid left, mid mid, and mid right. And again here also low left, low mid, and low right. So this is how you represent. So now, how do you do this as an? How do you convert this into a? How do you convert this into a dictionary format? So let's look at that. How do you do? Let's take an example as of a empty board. Empty board dictionary. So basically everything is empty. There's nothing. There's no value in that. So there's no values in that. So how do you write this? You say you take away a dictionary variable. Let's take it as the board. And for dictionary, it is curly brackets. And it's gonna be, it's in the same format. It's like top L. So top L will have blank, comma, top M. You can put a hyphen also. Okay, let's put hyphen for authenticity. Top M will have again blank. Then top right will again have blank. So it continues. I'm just gonna write it to the next line for you to understand. So what would this be? Next is mid L. Then next is mid M. Then next is mid R. Then next comes low, low L. So it's blanks. So here, then low M, then low R. So then we close the dictionary. So this is how your dictionary would look, how an empty dictionary would look. So this represents an empty board. Now we should move on to updating moves. So both states, basically. What I mean by updating boards. So updating moves. Let's take example both states. Meaning, for example, if we put a cross or we put an O in between, how should it change and how will it change? So basically the same thing. Let me try copying this. It's not copying. 1 second, guys. One second. Okay. So the first thing which happens is, so first usually let's imagine X place. So after first move, so what's the first move? X in center. This is the first move. So X is in the center. So what does center mean? Center basically means mid M. So in mid M we should get an X. So here instead of blank you will get an X. Similarly, let's say the next is player O. First player X is over. So next is player O. So let's imagine player O That's the first step. Now let's imagine the last step. Player O, he wins by filling the top row. So it goes on, goes on, goes on, and all play some or the other moves at some or the other point of time based on how the simulation goes. But initially, this was X, right? So next what they're doing is, if this is X, we are saying O fills the above and wins it. So above meaning top. So top fills it and he wins. How does XO win? So basically he wins by making a line like this. So rest all will be some points someone would have played. For example, let's take this as X, this as X, and rest are empty. So these are the other two chances X got but didn't execute. So this is how after O wins will be looking. So this is how you understand the representation of dictionary. Now let's look at printing printing the board using, let's take something called as print board. Let's take print board function. Let's put a star. So we got a print board function. So let's look how should it be. So we say def print board. So initially we send the board at each phase. Like initially it is a blank board, then it's something we update and we send. So this board represents that. This variable board represent an instance at every point of the program. Then this is just printing. This is not adding anything. So we print board is a dictionary, right? Board top L. So we'll print what is then top L. And then we give a line plus board top M. And then we give a line plus next is board top R. And then we close. Then we say print minus plus minus plus minus just as a distinguisher. Then similarly the next will come middle, middle, mid M, then mid R. Then again we print minus plus minus plus minus. And next again you print low L, low M and low R. And that's it, we are done. So how will that look is, for example, let's take the above representation. Let's take this. How will we print this is, it'll be like O will get this, then O will get this, then you'll get minus plus minus plus minus, then again, oh here's this another row, then you'll get X, X and a blank, then again minus plus minus plus minus, then blank blank X is what you will get. So this is how your printing visual will look like on your console. So this is just printing. So next, let's look at allowing player moves. So this is a game loop. So now we are allowing player to make a move. Game loop example. So let's say the board initially, which is that initially the board is this, right? So initially it is blank. So initially it is blank. So this is the board. Then we have got the print function. We have got this whole function. So we have got all this. So the next will be the print function. So this is, we already saw about the print function in the above section. Now let's continue the program. Next, turn is equal to x. So if turn is equal to x, meaning it's x turn to put something. So in range, for I in range 9, because there are 9 boxes to fill, print board, the board. So we are printing the board initially, then print turn for turn. So we are printing its x's turn, and move on with space. So we are asking on which space do you want the turn to be. So move is equal to, we are going to input it as a string. We're going to input it, then the board moves it. So whichever move is we go to that dictionary item and we input the turn, meaning is x or turn. Then next we have to shift to the next one. So after x, turn will be equal to O if turn is equal to x, else x. So here we are shifting to O only if x turn is completed. Otherwise we are staying at x until its turn is completed. Then at the end again we say print board, the board. So this is how we create a tic-tac-toe. Let's enlarge, yeah, tic-tac-toe program using dictionary. So this approach makes it easier for you to understand how dictionary actually works and how we are able to do the printing, how we are able to do the looping, etc., etc. So this is an important topic. Next, yeah, I think we are done with the Python questions. So we are going to look into some questions next. Yeah, before that, before we dive right into the question, there's one more topic which is important in the series, or which is nested dictionaries and list. So the other one is nested dictionary and lists. So we are going to cover this topic. So let's continue with nested dictionaries and lists. So first we need to know is when and why, to use nested structures. Not just anything, or when to use nested structures and why to use is a really important thing you need to understand. So, so yeah. So nested structures such as like dictionaries or lists that contain, what are nested structures? Dictionary and lists that contain other dictionary and or lists. So let's just recap what do you mean by lists. List means store ordered sequences, ordered sequences of ordered sequences of values. Then what do you mean by dictionaries? Maps keys to values. So combining them lets you model complex real world data. So when you combine dictionary and a list, then we'll be able to model complex and real time data. So again, if you take for example use cases, modeling games since we studied above, such as tic-tac-toe, tic-tac. Okay, let's remove this tic-tac-toe and chess. Storing structured data such as contacts, inventory, and records. So these are the use cases of using a nested list. Then let's look at some examples to understand better. Picnic items tracker. So let's look at this example. We can store we store multiple guests, each bringing multiple items, and calculate totals. So this is our task with this example. So what we are storing guests. So let's take a variable all guests. So which is equal to, let's say Alice is the first name. So Alice is storing apples, pretzels for 12 rupees. Then Bob, ham sandwich, ham sandwiches, 3 rupees. Apples, 2 rupees or dollars, whatever currency, for just for example. Carol is buying, she's buying cups for 3 rupees. Apple pie for 1 rupee. So what you need to understand is there are two dictionaries here. So since it's a nested dictionary, there are two dictionaries. One is the outer dictionary. The outer dictionary that contains the keys are guest names. The keys are guest names and values are dictionaries of items. So the first is these names and the values are the dictionary of items. This is the case of outer dictionary. Now, what's the case of inner dictionary? Inner dictionary, the keys are item names and values are quantities or price. quantities or price. So inner dictionary is apples, pretzels, ham, apples again, cups, and apple pie. These are the keys, and the values for these are the quantity of which they have. This is the inner dictionary. Okay, let's take this as outer dictionary. Okay, so this is how nested dictionaries work, or nested models structures work. So next, okay, let's take another example to understand better. Calculating totals with total bought. So now for the above thing, we are going to find out the total quantity we bought of each item. So let's just take a function def total brought guess comma item. So guess and what are items they bought. So initially num okay, one second guys. So num brought will be equal to 0. So let's say for k comma b we are taking two variables for the loop in guess comma items. So one will have the key, one will have the value. So numbot plus is equal to v dot get item comma 0. Then we return num brought. So here thing you need to understand is k is equal to guess name, v is equal to their item dictionary. So then we with this statement we add quantity or 0 if not present. So here we add the quantity, or if it's 0 if it is not present. So this is how you calculate the totals. How is it bought? So if I have to write in words how it works, so let's see how it works. How it works is it loops over each guest. It loops over each guest and guess dot items. This function returns guess dot items returns name dot item dictionary pair. So it returns this. So guess dot items returns name dot dictionary pair. So you use dot get item comma 0 on the inner dictionary and you returns the and it returns the quantity if item exists. So it returns the quantity if item exists. Otherwise, it returns 0 if it doesn't. So what this does, by doing this, we can avoid the key error function error. Then the next what it does is some quantity. After retrieving everything, it sums the quantities into the variable num brought. Then it returns the total. Then it returns the total. So this is how this calculating the total loop works. So if I say, if I have to print some example outputs, example output, let's say print number of things being bought. Let's say print number of things being bought. Next, let's say print apples, comma, total brought. This is one variable. Total brought is all guess, comma, apples. So this is one. Then next, similarly, let's say cups. We write cups here. Then similarly, we can say cakes, and we can write cakes here. And we can write ham sandwich. For ham sandwiches, we can write ham sandwich, not witches, my bad. Sandwiches. So sandwiches. Then apple pies. You can write apple pies here. Similarly, if you print this, you will get the output as number of things, this is on the terminal, being brought. Number of things being bought is apples, which are 7, then cups, which are 3, then cakes, which are 0, then ham sandwiches, not witches, sandwiches, which is 3, and apple pies, which is 1. So this is how the output would be structured based on the nested loop. Um, so let's look at some key takeaways from this topic. Uh, so key takeaways. So nested list, nested dictionaries or list, they let you represent more complex and hierarchical data. So when you get .get is a very useful, this is very useful function to avoid missing key errors. This is to avoid missing key errors. The pattern, how it goes is outer loop over main categories, guess, users, location, then In a dictionary list, look up for details. Scales easily the same logic. So it scales easily. Nested loops. The same logic works for it works for thousands of entries. It works for thousands of entries without code change. So without any code change, it will work for thousands of entries. That's the meaning of scaling easily. You can scale it to any level. And the next one is there's no single there's no single right data model. As such, there's no single right data model. Choose one that matches your so you can choose one that matches your program needs. So you can choose one which matches your program needs. So for making you visualize better, let's look at a of the same nested loop. Let's look at a visual representation. Visual representation. So we know all guess. Then we have Alice. Under Alice we have apples, pretzels. Then next we have Bob. Under Bob we have ham, ham sandwich, which is 3 quantity. Then we have apples, which is 2. Then again we have Carol, which is cups, which is 3, and apple apple pies, which is 1. So this is how. So what this shows outer keys branching to inner keys or inner dictionaries. So this is how you represent or visualize a representation of a nested dictionary. So that's with the topic, and we are done with the dictionary chapter. Next, we are going to look at some questions, few questions based on. We're going to look at few questions based on dictionaries. They're going to be simple. So let's get started. Okay, so let's look at the questions. Question number 1. What does the code for an empty dictionary look like? So for an empty dictionary, what does the code look like? So this is the answer, just 2 curly brackets. And second one, what does a dictionary value with a key FOO and value 42 look like? So the key is FOO and the value is 42. How do you create a dictionary of this? Is this the curly bracket FOO and you give a colon and say 42. This is the second question. Then third question, what is the main difference What is the main difference between a dictionary and a list? So what's the main difference is dictionary, it stores data as a key value pair. So keys can be non-integer such as string, number, tuples, and order doesn't matter. Order doesn't matter. Similarly, a list, this stores data as an ordered sequence indexed by integers starting from 0. So starting from 0, it will be indexed, whereas in dictionary it is not just integer. Next, fourth question. What happens if you try to access from the above example spam FOO if not from the above example, I'll give spam here differently. So if spam is bar 100, so you'll get something called as key error, because FOO is not a key in the dictionary. It's not a key in the dictionary. Next, fifth one. If a dictionary is stored in spam, what is difference between the expressions cat in spam and cat not in spam, or not in spam, let's say cat in spam dot keys? So what's the difference between this? So as we learned, there's no difference. Both check whether cat is a key in spam. Both check whether cat is a key in spam or not. Next, sixth one. If a dictionary is stored in spam, what is the difference between the expression cat in spam and cat in spam dot values? So what's the difference here is cat in spam checks if cat is a key. It checks if cat is a key, whereas cat in spam values It checks if cat is a value. Checks if cat is a value. Next question. What is a shortcut for the following code? So what is a shortcut for the following code? The code is if color not in spam, spam color equal to black. So how to write a short form of this? We can say we use set default method which we studied above. So spam dot set default. So we set the default color of this if anything is not found as black. Similarly, eighth question. What module and function can be used to pretty print dictionary values? So the module we use is pprint and the function we use is pprint dot pprint or pprint dot p format, and this returns formatted string as a result. So this covers the questions part of it. Now let's look at practice projects. Actually, okay, practice projects. So let's look at project number 1, which is fantasy game inventory. So let's look at this project number 1. So let's look at the problem first. The problem: players inventory stored in a dictionary in the format of item name and quantity So for example, let's say rope, that is quantity 1, or torch 6, gold chain or gold coin 42, dagger 1, arrow 12. So this is what it is. What we need to do is we need to write a function. Let's take the function as display inventory. Inventory is the dictionary variable. That, what does it do is loops through dictionary key values. It prints each item and count, and it prints total number of items at the end. So this is a problem statement. So if I have to give you a hint, so the hint would be use dot items function to loop through value pair. So this is your hint. So just look at the problem statement once. Try solving on your own. I'm gonna start solving it. So let's look at it. So you can create a inventory dot py and say stuff is equal to rope 1, then torch, the same as the above example we took, 6, then gold coin 42, then dagger 1, then arrow will be 12. So we need to start with the function def display inventory. So we start by printing inventory and item total is equal to 0 for k comma v in inventory items. So we saw this type of looping previously also. Str v plus k, then item total plus is equal to v, then at the end we print total number of items item total. So what does this do is this loops through. So we used item dot item function. This loops through key value pair. Then what this does is print quantity plus item name, then this add quantity to total. I'm not going to explain much because we did a similar project previously. Then the last thing we need to do is run the function. So you say display inventory stuff. So try running this on your system. You should get the expected output as inventory 1 rope 6 torch 42 gold coin, 1 dagger, 12 arrows. So total number of items would be 62. So this is how your output should be there. You can try playing with the dictionaries to how to get a different type of output, but the concept remains the same. So the next part of the project would be project 2. This would be adding loot to inventory. So we're adding items to the inventory. So let's look at the problem statement. So after a battle, the player gets loot in a list. Example, gold coin, ruby, dagger. So he gets this loot. So we must write a function. Let's take it as add to inventory function. Add to inventory function where inventory add items is the parameters we are going to send. What this does is this checks each loot item, and if the item exists in inventory, then increase count. Then we increase the count. If not, add with count is equal to 1. Then we return updated inventory. So this is our problem statement. Just look at it, try doing on your own. So I'm going to start the implementation part here. So we just need to add this function def add to inventory add items, other parameters. So for item in added items, so we're going to check the added items. Inventory item is equal to inventory. Under the item's name, we're going to get the item or how much we have, or we're going to take it as 0 and say +1, and we return inventory. So that's all. We just add +1. If it's not there, we consider it as 0 and continue. So let's look at an example usage. We can say inv is equal to gold coin 42 comma rope 1, then dragon loot is equal to gold coin dagger. Let's write this properly. Inventory. My handwriting is bad, but just understand from the context. Coin, another gold coin, and the end one ruby. So inventory is equal to, we're going to call it add to inventory. We are going to give the updated variable to this. Inventory inv comma dragon loot then display inventory is the function call, and we're gonna call it. So what your expected output should be like after you execute this is, so let's see. So this is your full function. So your expected output must be inventory 45 gold coin, 1 rope, 1 dagger, 1 ruby. Total number of items would be 48. So this is how it's gonna be. So yeah, let's look at the start. So we have done the tic-tac-toe, we have done nested list, practice question, and practice project. So we are done with dictionaries. I'll be looking forward to see you in the next chapter. Thank you.